Nadia King arrived in Portugal with 30 days to save her career. Her publisher expected 10 romantic illustrations for a new book. The problem was simple. After her fiancé ended their engagement, Nadia no longer believed in romance. She rented a cottage at Quinta das Flores, a family-owned flower farm overlooking the Algarve coast. She expected privacy. Instead, she found Tomás Ribeiro planting roses outside her window before sunrise. "You're blocking my view," she called. Tomás looked toward the empty canvas on her desk. "You don't appear to be using it." Nadia disliked him immediately. Unfortunately, she also sketched him before breakfast. That afternoon, her editor called. If Nadia missed the deadline, the book and her contract would be cancelled. Tomás noticed her worried expression. "What do you need to draw?" "Romance." His dimple appeared. "That can be arranged." Tomás offered Nadia a deal. He would take her to the 10 most romantic places in the Algarve. In exchange, Nadia would create illustrations for the flower farm's new advertising campaign. Quinta das Flores was struggling. Without more summer guests, Tomás might have to sell part of the land. "These are not real dates," Nadia warned. "Of course not. No flirting." "Absolutely. And no falling in love." Tomás considered this. "That sounds difficult to guarantee." Their first borrowed date was a picnic above the cliffs. Tomás brought strawberries, fresh bread, and enough flowers to decorate a wedding. Nadia spent the afternoon sketching the sea. But when she opened her book that evening, she discovered she had drawn Tomás instead. He was looking at her as though she were the only beautiful thing on the cliff. Their arrangement had already broken its first rule. Their second date took place at a village night market. Nadia expected to sketch lanterns, musicians, and couples dancing beneath the trees. She did not expect Tomás to pull her into the crowd. "I don't dance," she protested. "You draw people dancing. That requires considerably less coordination." Tomás placed one hand at her waist and guided her through the steps. Nadia stepped on his shoe twice. He only laughed. For the first time in months, she stopped thinking about deadlines, contracts, and the man who had left her. Later, Tomás bought her a small copper bracelet from a market stall. "You didn't have to do that." "I know. Then why did you?" He fastened it around her wrist. "Because it will look beautiful when you draw." Nadia looked at him. She had forgotten how dangerous kindness could feel. On their fourth date, a summer storm trapped them inside the farm's old greenhouse. Rain struck the glass while Tomás lit candles between rows of jasmine and roses. Nadia sketched him repairing a broken window. "Why did you leave Lisbon?" she asked. Tomás had once designed gardens for luxury hotels across Europe. He returned home when his father became ill and never left again. "Do you regret it?" "Sometimes." "What do you miss?" "Knowing my life could become anything." Nadia understood. She had spent years building the career she wanted, only to realize it left no room for mistakes. Thunder shook the greenhouse. Tomás moved closer. "You're afraid of storms?"
"No."
"You're holding my shirt." Nadia looked at her hand against his chest. Neither moved. Tomás lowered his face toward hers. Then Beatriz entered carrying 3 umbrellas. "Am I interrupting the research?" Their 7th date was a dinner beneath hundreds of lights in the flower garden. Tomás cooked. Nadia drew. Neither mentioned that they had begun spending every morning together even when no date was planned. After dinner, Tomás showed her a path surrounded by white roses. "My mother planted these when Beatriz was born. They're beautiful. They only flower for a few weeks." Nadia looked at him. "Some beautiful things are temporary." Tomás's smile disappeared. "Not everything has to be." He kissed her beneath the roses. It was slow, gentle, and nothing like the careful romance Nadia had been trying to draw. When they separated, she rested her forehead against his. "This is still research. Very thorough research." Nadia kissed him again. Neither noticed Beatriz quietly removing "no falling in love" from their written agreement. Nadia completed 9 illustrations. Every one contained something inspired by Tomás. His hands, his smile, the way he looked at her when she was drawing. Then her publisher called with an offer. The book was attracting interest before it was even finished. If Nadia returned to London immediately, she could lead a new international project. It was the opportunity she had always wanted. Tomás overheard only part of the conversation. "I can be back in London by Monday," Nadia said. He left before hearing her ask for more time. That evening, he canceled their 10th date. "The farm needs me. You said the same thing yesterday." It was true yesterday, too. Nadia recognized the distance in his voice. "Did I do something?" "No, Tomás." He looked at her. "Our agreement ends after 10 dates. Perhaps ending after 9 will make leaving easier." Nadia entered Tomás's office looking for the campaign photographs. Instead, she found a contract to sell part of the flower farm to a resort developer. The agreement had been prepared before she arrived. She confronted him. "You knew you were going to sell." "I was considering it. You used my illustrations to increase the property's value." "No. I used them to try to avoid selling." Nadia wanted to believe him. But Tomás had hidden the contract just as she had hidden the London offer. "You were leaving without telling me," he said. "I hadn't decided." "Neither had I." They stood between everything they had been too afraid to say. Nadia returned the copper bracelet he had given her. "I suppose our borrowed dates were only temporary." Tomás closed his hand around it. "They were never borrowed to me." But he did not ask her to stay. And Nadia did not ask him to stop her. The farm's summer festival arrived on Nadia's final evening. A windstorm damaged the decorations and threatened to cancel the event. Despite their argument, Nadia and Tomás worked together. She painted new signs. He rebuilt the flower arches. By sunset, the gardens were filled with music, lights, and visitors. The campaign had worked. Every guest room was booked for the next 3 months. Tomás no longer needed to sell the land. After the festival, he found Nadia beside the white roses. "We never had our 10th date," he said. "This is not a date." "No." They walked through the empty garden in silence. At her cottage, Tomás returned the copper bracelet. "I bought this for you. It belongs wherever you go." Nadia wanted him to ask her to remain. Instead, he kissed her forehead. The following morning, she returned to London. Nadia's book became her publisher's most successful release of the year. But one page remained unfinished. The final illustration was supposed to represent home. Nadia tried drawing London streets, her apartment, and the studio she had worked years to earn. Nothing felt right. Then a package arrived from Portugal. Inside was a dried white rose and a photograph of the flower farm's new reading garden. At its center stood an empty wooden sign. A note from Tomás read, "I saved this space for your final illustration." Nadia finally understood. Tomás had never asked her to abandon her career. He had only wanted to know whether he had a place inside it. 3 days later, Tomás was preparing the garden for guests when he heard someone behind him. "You forgot our 10th date." He turned. Nadia was standing there with her suitcase. Nadia did not move permanently to Portugal. Not immediately. She divided her year between London and Quinta das Flores, illustrating books from a bright studio Tomás built beside the garden. Tomás returned to landscape design and transformed part of the farm into creative retreats for writers and artists. 1 year after their first borrowed date, Nadia found him waiting on the same cliff where their arrangement had begun. He had recreated their picnic. The same bread, the same strawberries. Far too many flowers. "This was supposed to be our 10th date," Tomás said. "I thought the 10th one was when I returned. That was the first real one." He opened Nadia's old sketchbook. Inside was the first drawing she had made of him. A ring had been placed over the page. "Nadia King, will you let me take you on dates for the rest of our lives?" She smiled through her tears. "Only if you stop calling them research." He kissed her above the sea. This time, neither of them planned an ending. If you enjoyed Nadia and Tomás's story, subscribe to Velvet Tales and leave a like to support the channel. Tell us in the comments, would you have returned for the 10th date? And if you would like to help us create more romantic stories, you can donate any amount through our Buy Me a Coffee page. The link is in the description.